actually as nice as Bridget Sweetwine pretended to be. Never trust anyone without an obvious ulterior motive, unless they're a garbage collector. Don't hesitate to trust a garbage collector. That's what Big Nana, Imogen's grandmother, had always said. Now Bridget Sweetwine pranced up to Imogen, her curls bouncing unnecessarily. It made Imogen sick. Mentally, she drafted an email to her clique. Keep conditioner use to a minimum. All strands of hair should obey the law of gravity.
I just wanted to wish you all the luck in the world for the assembly,
Sweetwine simpered, wringing her hands.
I'm so nervous. Are you?
She smiled at Imogen like some nauseating Victorian cherub. Imogen glared back. Just then Imogen's math teacher, Mrs. Pythagoras, stepped out onto the stage and tapped the microphone. Imogen turned from Sweetwine, fists unclenching.
"Good morning, girls," Mrs. Pythagoras said. "It was on a lovely morning, just like this, that the ancient Persians discovered the triangle. And aren't we glad they did?"
Imogen glanced around. She couldn't help but note that most of the girls, aside from Sweetwine of course, didn't seem that glad.
But enough from me. Now for the moment you've all been waiting for. It's time to hear from the two exceptional students who are seeking your vote for head girl of Lillyworth. Please give a warm welcome to your first candidate, Imogen Collins.
Imogen smiled at her classmates as she stood up and made her way to the stage, running a hand over her pearls and going over the opening lines of the speech in her head. But just as she was about to climb the steps, the school secretary scuttled onto the stage in front of her and whispered something into Mrs. Pythagoras's ear. Mrs. Pythagoras gasped. She rushed over to meet Imogen at the side of the stage.
I'm so sorry, my dear, she said, but the headmistress has asked to see you in her office right away.
Imogen stared at her, uncomprehending. Why? What's wrong?
I'm afraid I don't know, said Mrs. Pythagoras.
Imogen glanced back at her classmates, trying to look head-girlishly unbothered.
Will I get to do my speech later? She asked from the corner of her mouth.
I don't know that either, Mrs. Pythagoras said gently.
But I'm sure that, like a particularly tricky quadratic equation, we'll find the answer eventually.
That wasn't very comforting. Imogen felt her lips drop into a frown and then recovered, waved breezily at the audience, and stepped down from the stage. This is all very strange. She had never been to Miss Grunner's office before. No one went to Miss Grunner's office unless they were in deep trouble, and Imogen was never in deep trouble. Not even shallow trouble. She made sure of that. Imogen walked back through the audience to the hallway, trying to ignore her friend's curious eyes. She kept her smile pasted on, but as soon as she escaped to the hallway, it collapsed into a scowl. She felt sick with nerves. Taking a deep breath, Imogen walked the short distance to the main office, walked past the secretary's desk, and knocked on Miss Grunner's door. "Come in," called the headmistress. Imogen pushed the door open. Miss Grunner pushed her glasses onto her nose and looked up from her desk. She was frowning, as usual, and her dark hair pulled back into a bun so tight that it gave Imogen a headache just looking at it. She was wearing an itchy-looking cardigan in an alarming shade of green. "Sit down," Miss Grunner said. Imogen stepped inside, closed the door behind her, and sat down. "I am sorry to have to tell you this," said Miss Grunner, "but you have been expelled from Lillyworth Ladies' College." Imogen blinked. I must be hallucinating. She should have known better than to eat spicy food on the night before the big speech. It never agreed with her. Imogen shook her head. "Excuse me," she said. "Could you repeat that? For a moment I thought you said I'd been expelled." "You have," said Miss Grunner. "Effective immediately." This was feeling all too real. "But you can't expel me," cried Imogen, panic rising up inside her. "I think you'll find I can," said Miss Grunner, pitiless, just as she would be if this were actually happening. "I'm the best student in the whole school."